Okay, guys, I'm going to try and get this as quick as I possibly can. Guys, what we're doing when we're working with percentage work, it's really important to listen to those percentages and stay with those percentages. Often now that we're starting to see as the percentages are starting to get higher and the rep schemes are starting to get lower, people feel like they've got to do more than the prescribed weight. Now, I've got you this example here with these percentages underneath, but we're also going to use them in a scenario where there's 100 kilo 1RM, which then makes it easier to make sense. Okay, so if we're doing a set of 6 at 70%, when we come back the next week and do a set at 70%, you haven't tested yourself. You haven't gone for 1RM in that time. So therefore, it should be at the exact same weight. It should be at 70 kilos again. Same as we progress on. We have every day I write on the whiteboard, stay within your capacity. Okay, so what that means is stay within your 1RM capacity as well as weight and your rep scheme. Okay, so if you get down here and you've got to do 4 sets at 80% and you put on 85%, what's going to happen? You might not be able to get your 4 reps out. Okay, or you might not be getting to full depth on the squat, or you may not be touching the bar on the bench press on your chest. So you're cutting corners, guys. When you come into the gym, now that you've reached this level where you're starting to lift a lot more often, you're not going to get PRs every time you pick the bar up. So if you're leaving feeling disappointed that you haven't lifted more than last week, forget it for now. I want you to lift the same as last week, so that then when we test again, you will be able to lift more. Now, if you were to use that scenario, if you're doing 85% here because it's the 2nd or 3rd week of this rep scheme, what's going to happen is 1, you're going to injure yourself. 2, if it doesn't happen, you're going to leave disappointed. 3, you may not get your 4 reps out, so therefore you've lifted 80 kilos less than you would have if you're stuck at 80 kilos because you're 1 rep short. Okay, along with a whole list of other stuff. When you come in, you can progress and improve on the movement rather than the weight. The weight will come, okay? So what I'm trying to say there is, if you want to lift your 80 kilos and you feel pretty strong, instead of lifting to 85 kilos, what I want you to do is try and get a little bit deeper in the squat. Try and stand up a bit more upright. Try and keep that chest more upright at the bottom of the squat. Try and keep your core engaged. Try and make sure that your knees are tracking perfectly symmetrical. Try and make sure that you're standing up a little bit faster. All those are better ways to lift the same weight. And then when we do come to test your 2 and your 1RM, all of a sudden you're going to be lifting perfectly, plus you'll get a PR. If you try and rush it, what ends up happening is you just put yourself in a position for failure, straight up, okay? So when we say lift at 70%, lift at 70%. Don't try and go 73% or 75% or think you lifted heavier, lighter last week, so you need to make it heavier this week. That's not how you play the game. There's a thing that we call, which is called newbie gains. Now, what like newbie being new at the certain movement, a newbie gain, let's say you're doing a bench press, for instance. You lie down on the bench and you, first time ever, you start to push that barbell up and it's swaying and you can't even string it together and you're a bit uncoordinated, but you get that 20 kilo barbell up or 15 kilo barbell. Second week you're going to come in, all of a sudden you'll start adding weight to it. Okay, so you'll start putting 30 kilos and feel all right because your coordination's there, plus you've already got that strength. So then the next week you might put 40 kilos on it. So that's called newbie gains. You actually haven't got any stronger in those, or fractionally stronger in those 2 weeks. It's just you become more efficient at that movement. So you've come in, first day, PR 20 kilo bar. Second week, you've PR'd 40 kilos. You haven't had a 100% increase. You've just got familiar with that movement. And you can't expect that to happen because of how much you're doing the lift. So every time you come in, if you would expect that to happen, guys, you'll be cleaning 300 kilos by the end of the week. Like, that's not how strength works. Olympic lifters, power lifters, marathon runners don't PR every time they pick the bar up. They work with percentage work, and that's what makes them PR later on. Okay, so stop trying to better yourself from the week before as far as weight goes when you're sticking inside that same percentage. By all means, better yourself, but better yourself in a different way. Better yourself by making the movement better, the movement faster, the movement more efficient, the better range of motion, okay? A 2RM or a 1RM where you're only going half range of motion doesn't prove anything to anyone. You could anyone can do, I can take anyone off the street and do that. What creates a proper 1RM is when you're getting into that deep squat, for instance, when you're using squat as an example, and you're coming all the way up and it's a perfect rep. That's what we're all striving for. We're not striving to lift more weight and get injured. We're thriving to lift more weight in the perfect way we can. Okay, so lift within your capacity. When we say these percentages, guys, we want you to lift at those percentages. Even though you lift at those percentages the week before, that's fine. Lift at those same percentages the next week, but make sure that it's perfect. Okay? Then when we test, you'll go, oh my gosh, not only did I PR, I PR'd with perfect technique. And that way other people won't be looking at you in the gym and going, oh wow, he lifted more than last week, but his bum was this much higher than it was last week. Like that's not what we're looking for. Guys, have a chat with me about it when you see me. Have a chat with the coaches. Don't beat yourself up. There's nothing worse than leaving the gym feeling disappointed. But when you're working on percentages, it's not about feeling disappointed or feeling happy. It's about lifting within your capacity. So it will take time, and then you'll leave the gym happy when you PR. Okay, that's what we're going for, guys. Have a chat with me, all the coaches, about it, but lift within those percentages. All right, keep well, guys, and talk to you soon.